Good afternoon. I'd like to call the Middletown Public School Committee meeting to order on Monday, August 28th, 2023 at 3:30 p.m. All members are present. I need a motion to go into executive session.
Make a motion, we go into executive session.
Read
Second.
that. You have to read that.
On the status of council, for the status of Council 94 contract negotiations, 42-46-5, A2, and update teacher negotiations, 42-46-5, A2.
Second.
Any discussion?
Roll call vote.
Roll call vote. Bill? Just
Yes.
Wendy?
Yes.
Greg?
Present.
Tammy?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Okay.
Okay.
Right.
So
We're going to executive session. We'll be back.
I'll text you, David, when we're finished. Sure.
Is someone coming?
In the place.
Yeah.
Someone coming?
Okay, we are reconvening into, can I have a motion to reconvene into open session?
Make a motion to reconvene into open session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Can I have a no vote was taken in executive session. Can I have a motion to seal the minutes?
Motion to seal the minutes.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay, please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God. Please remain standing for a moment of silence for Libby Ivy, who recently passed away. She was a nurse for our district for a very long time. So we want to pay our respects and wish her family and think of them in our thoughts and prayers during this difficult time. Thank you. Okay, can I have a motion to adjust the agenda and move up superintendent reports on finance?
I make a motion to move up the superintendent financial report.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Mrs. Krager.
Yes, I know the school committee and I have been receiving a number of emails from our parents, and I want to thank you for the advocacy that you have shown bringing back staff. I'd like to show you tonight where we are in terms of our budget and what we're doing to try to bring back staff, but certainly also demonstrate to you the challenges that we have with regard to finances. The other piece of information, I know our school committee and myself have gotten a number of emails about our special ed, our tuition for typically developing peers in our preschool tuition. And I want to apologize for any angst that has caused when we set that tuition probably last month or several weeks ago. We were working off a document that we thought was the right document, and it wasn't the right document. With the dissolution of the regional special ed, we had lots of things going on. So you were absolutely right that was an outrageous jump in tuition for our typically developing peers. And the school committee tonight is working off the right document, and it's a 3% increase, and you'll see those changes. So if you're here to talk about that or concerned about that, we wanted to let you know ahead of time that that will be adjusted. So just to, again, I want to thank everybody who has been such an advocate for our budget and bringing back staff. We will be sending an email to the public community and all our parents about the difficult decisions we've had to make with regard to the budget. And in spite of the generosity of our town council, and they were extremely generous in giving us the 4%, and you'll see in the slide, and even more than the 4%, we are still at a loss for our revenue. We want to be very cautious as we take a look at our budget, every single line of our budget. We want to make sure all of the salaries and benefits that we have projected are indeed the salary and benefits that we have. And once all that is balanced, we will start to look at what we can bring back. The principals, our admin team, which includes our building principals, we sat down in the spring before we submitted our budget and looked at the number of positions that we did have to reduce to even get to the 4%. And then through the months, looking at what would we bring back if the dollars were there in terms of priority. We looked at number of things: safety in our schools, things like people like deans. We looked at social emotional, our guidance, our social worker. We looked at access to the curriculum. So if we had students scheduled at our high school for an art class, and we did have a number of students scheduled for an art class, we would bring the art teacher back because access to curriculum. We looked at, I'm drawing a blank right now, interventions. So in reading, English language learner, those types of supports for our students. You also need to understand that our Gaudet School is a Title I program, Title I designated as Title I, as is Forest Avenue. So just bringing back a reading teacher, you have to balance the Title I needs with the other schools, with the so you're not supplanting, you're supplementing. And that Title I laws are very, very strict around that. It's a federal dollars and you're audited. So we have to be very careful about that. But at the end of the day, I want you to know the school committee, myself, our admin team, we would like to bring everybody back, but we need to do things cautiously and only if the dollars are there. So I'll walk through this, and if you have any questions, I'm sure our school committee will entertain your questions and we will try to answer them. So where are we? You've heard us say a number of times, this has been a perfect storm. We had the dissolution of the regional special ed program. And with the dissolution of the regional special ed program, there are a number of classes that needed to come back from Tiverton that we would absorb bring our students back who attended classes in Tiverton, and we would be instructing them in Middletown. We looked at a number of positions. We called in a special ed consultant, and Georgia Fortunato and Lisa Burkett have been looking at the numbers and the service time. So we have gained some dollars from that, not replacing the teachers that we thought, and looking at caseloads. So that's kind of the good news of that. And you'll see later on some of the positions we did bring back. We also, part of this perfect storm is we chose to use our ARPA dollars to support students. And we had reading teachers, we had a social worker, we had a number of positions. We knew that they were going to sunset, but it was a deliberate move on the school department's part, because we said if we could at least have these positions for a year or two, we would infuse the instruction and the support our students needed coming off COVID. And when you look at our test results, or even look at the effort that our students have made, that worked. The downside is those grants have sunsetted and we don't have those dollars. The other big factor is the reduction of state aid. Middletown continues to lose state aid. We started losing state aid about 10 or 12 years ago at a pretty hefty rate. And we were supplementing that with fund balance. We were supplementing with the support of our town council and the dollars then. This year, we anticipated that we wouldn't lose state aid. And when the state aid numbers came out in March, we were losing close to $500,000 in state aid. And we were taken back by that, to be very honest with you. State aid is a formula, and it is based on your enrollment, our enrollment, and a number of factors that go into a state education aid formula. The number of special ed students that we have, the number of English language learning students that we have. The end of the day, when the governor's budget came out and when the General Assembly voted on the budget, we were $500,000 short in state aid. Again, our town council plugged that hole for us. You'll see that later. So when we presented a budget in March to our school committee, we really needed an 8.8% increase. We had to comply by state law, which is 4%. We could not exceed the cap 4% or the ask. The 8.8% included those positions that we needed to eliminate. And coming in at the 4, those positions were eliminated.
I want to comment about the, to add what you were saying about special education and the formula. What happens with special education, even with high-end students, high-end cost for special ed, is that no matter what, it's federal mandates that all students are required to receive 100% of supports that are in their IEPs, no matter what. Doesn't matter what the cost is. But the reimbursement for students that are over $75,000 is minimal. And that's the difficult part in this community, is that we do have special ed needs that are above 75,000, and the dollar amount reimbursement is very minimal. And we are having to make up the difference with that. So that is something that we need to deal with the legislators, and we have for a long time now, because that needs to come from the federal government to support our students. And it's very frustrating that these mandates are in place, and yet we don't get the financial supports from the federal government as much as what they should be doing to support our students. So I just wanted to add that we literally get $75,000 or $80,000 to offset the cost of multiple students that are above and beyond the in classroom sports.
And this is a very transient community. We do have military moving in this time of the year. Many of our military are coming in, but other folks coming in, and we could have a student who comes in who has an extreme need, multiple facets, and it could be up to $150,000. And if we don't budget for that, and we don't know, because as a family moves in, and that family and that student deserves the free and appropriate education that they deserve. So again, here is a little look at the state aid. So you look at the formula aid. We were at 8 million last year, and this year we are at 7 million. See the difference there. Last year, our cost for high special ed was only 26,000. This year we did get a bump, because we do have high cost special ed students in our community.
That's our total. That's our total from the state.
The multi-language learner, again, our English as second language students has really been very high. Last year, we only got 13,000. This year, we got, or this coming year, a little bit of a bump there. Now, our English language learners years ago, and I've been here a number of years, it used to be just our war college students. It has dipped the other way. Our war college students population is much lower than our native, our resident population. Coming in with English as a second language. And the state has all mandates around that in terms of compliance. And I have to tell you, we are not compliant. And we wait every day for the state to come down and say something to us. Because typically, given our population and the needs that we have, we should have close to 10 teachers, English language learners teachers. And right now, we have 2.5 or 2.6. So you see the reduction in state aid right there, close to 6 million. 600,000. So in order to get to the 4%, and we sat here and this was devastating, it was draconian, what we needed to do. We eliminated these positions just to get to the 4%. We had 2 reading teachers. We had 2 deans at the high school. Our directors at the high school teach 0.6 of the time. We're going to put them back in the classroom. 2 guidance, a librarian at our middle school. We had a Middletown student success teacher in the budget. Again, that was funded by a grant, that the ARPA dollars. That was not in the budget. The social worker. We reduced 1 English language learning teacher, 2 custodians, a facilities clerk, and an art teacher. So we presented these cuts at our final budget meeting in March, when the school committee is required to forward the budget to the town council. These are the positions that are out of the budget and over the 4%. So we were starting at a disadvantage now. Some more numbers. And this is where you're going to see our issue currently. Our revenues, the revenue side, it's 40,950,000. Again, town council being extremely generous to us. When you go on the expenditure side, both those numbers should be the same. Right now, our expenditures are over budgeted, and we need to reduce that. That's why positions aren't being recalled until we know we have the dollars for that. Now, how do you get the dollars for that? We call something called breakage. So if a teacher who has retired, it happens to be on the top step, and step means they've taught a number of years in our district and has the highest degree or a degree a little bit lower than that. And we hire a teacher who maybe is first or second year out of college and possibly only has the bachelor degree or a master's degree. So that breakage between that teacher who retired and the teacher that we hired is a savings. So we hold that on the side. The other possible breakage is, again, having our special ed consultant and Mrs. Burkett taking a look at all the service models, all the caseloads. We could gain some dollars there. So the 4 teachers that were projected that we needed initially, perhaps we only need 2 of those. So that's called, we have those extra dollars, and you'll see who we recall from that. But right here is the crux of the issue here. Our revenue is 40 million. Our expenditures are 41. We're not going to expend that. Don't want anyone to get nervous about that. We are not over expending our budget until we see if we have dollars to spend. This is the town appropriations, and you can see, again, the town gave us the 4% requested, which is $1 million. They took a little money out because we are looking at reorganizing our business office and consolidate services with our town council. So they moved our town side. They moved dollars for those positions. To exceed the cap, and our town council voted 6-0 to exceed the cap, and those dollars are plugged in to replace the state loss of revenue. Remember, I showed you that the state loss of revenue was $500,000. The town voted to exceed the cap and plug the money there to offset that loss of revenue. Now think about it. Had we not lost state aid to the tune of $500,000, and the town gave us those dollars, most of those positions would be back or very close to being back. You have to figure salary and benefits. It's $100,000 per position. Okay. So a deficit plan, because our school department was in deficit, the town and the school department have to have a deficit reduction plan. So $900,000 there. The town also gave us last year $500,000 as a contingency fund that becomes a maintenance of effort. So whatever the town gave us last year, they have to give us this year. And the total appropriations that the town gave us is close to $2 million for a total of 31. And this is just the general fund. We do get funds for grants. And those grants are what we call a consolidated resource grant. They're grants for a Title I reading teacher. There's some money in there for English language learners. There's professional development money in there, but those we apply for every year. Our assistant superintendent does an excellent job in filling out those applications, and we get those monies. So this is our general operating money. So what we reduced from the proposed budget after reevaluating special ed, we had, through the, working with our consulting and looking at caseloads and service, there was one special ed teacher at the high school that we did not need to replace. There was a speech teacher looking at speech IEPs. And I want to say, this area in red is special ed. I want to preface it by saying every student is getting what they need. Every special ed student is getting what they need. These were in the budget. Again, we took a close look and said, we can still deliver what every student needs without filling these positions. So there was a speech teacher that we did not fill. We thought we needed 2 special ed intensive teachers, and we only need 1. There was a pathway teacher that we thought we needed, and we do not need that. And then there are 3 special education teacher assistants that we thought we needed, and we don't need them. So with that box above, the red box, we were able to bring back at this time a dean at our middle school, safety, right? 3 of our high school directors, access to curriculum. 1 guidance counselor at our high school. They will have 2. This is supports for students, the social emotional. 1 L teacher we brought back, supports for student. The 1 art teacher at the high school, we thought we could do 1 less. This is access to curriculum because we had many students signed up fully for an art teacher. If we didn't bring this art teacher back, those students would be in our cafeteria, and that's not good. We do not want that. So we have brought staff back. Let me show you the list. This is what we can't bring back yet. I want to say yet, because again, we're going to scrub every line in our budget. We're not going to bring back anyone until we know those dollars are there. And these are the positions: 2 reading interventionists, a dean at the high school, a guidance counselor at the high school, a librarian, 1 student success teacher at Middletown High School, a social worker at our elementary, another L teacher, and we're still not in compliance, 2 custodians and 1 facilities clerk. So those are positions we want to work on, and all of your emails advocated for this. Thank you so much. You see the need. You might say, well, why don't you cut sports? Well, you really don't have that much money when you cut sports, except for buses. That's really where you're safe. But why would we do that? Our students need an outlet. They're recovering from COVID. They need the social emotional piece. And the sports is a way for that. So again, these are the positions we want to bring back. So that really describes where we're at currently. if you want to entertain any questions.
Thank you very much. I think the reason why I wanted to push this up on the agenda prior to the public forum was to give you an opportunity to hear the information after all the emails and the questions. And you are absolutely right to ask the questions. You're absolutely right to have the concerns. We as a school board, and I think I can speak for everybody up here, we're very concerned too. And we have worked diligently with this budget, meeting after meeting, hours after hours, dissected it tooth and nail, worked with the superintendent. It's a grueling process. We've worked very closely with the town council. The town council has been great. Their finance department, the town administrator, has worked very well with us, getting as much of these positions back as possible, and we're still continuing through this process. So I felt it was important to bring this forward first, to give you the facts and the information firsthand. I do want to comment also in regards to the tuition. We truly apologize for that. That was a mistake. We have a lot going on in the business office, and it was an oversight. So fortunately, it was caught, and it's been rectified and corrected. So the tuition we are voting on it tonight, and then the numbers will be out after this. So mistakes can happen when you don't have a full team in the business office. And we've been very short-staffed. T. Gomes and a few other women that have been in there are working diligently, and it's been a process working on the budget and trying to get everything ready to open school next week. So we thank you for your patience and your understanding, but we do really feel that these facts were important. So if you still want to speak, we're more than happy to have you come up. The first one I have is I have a slip from Lori Sullivan. If you are going to come up and speak, just. Oh, yes, I do have to read this. I'm sorry. Hold on, Lori. Just a moment, Lori. I'm sorry. We're going to do the public forum. Individuals may address the school committee on only one relevant education-related topic, not included on the agenda, nor related to personnel or job performance, nor revealing personally identifiable information regarding students. Individuals may speak for no longer than 5 minutes and must submit a public participation form to the superintendent prior to the start of the meeting. Non-agenda items discussed under public forum will not be voted upon at this meeting. So I do ask that you respect the maximum of 5 minutes, please, because we do have a full agenda, and we also want to give everybody an opportunity to speak if they choose. So Lori Sullivan, if you'd like to come up. Laura Sullivan, I'm sorry.
Night later, I'm waiting for my husband.
Sure. Mary Allen. Just state your name and address, please.
Mary Allen, 9 Baldwin Road, Middletown.
I am a parent of 2 kids who attend Middletown Public Schools, and I'm also an educator. I've taught primary grades for about 13 years. I have a master's in literacy, and I am confused, frustrated, saddened by the loss of the reading specialists. I just can't wrap my head around why we as educators who know that the foundational experiences of learning to read, we can't say that sports are more important than learning to read. I get that kids need an outlet, but like kids need to learn how to read. That is what we are supposed to be giving them. And so as an educator, I always said to myself, what's in the best interest of our kids? That's what we have to ask ourselves on a daily basis. And I guess I want you guys to, I know you're asking that too, but I can't see why taking away reading specialists from our primary classrooms is in the best interest of children. If they can't learn, if they can't read, when they get to 4th grade, we aren't going to get them to learn how to read. All the research says that this K1, 2, 3 is our chance to teach kids how to read. And if we don't, it becomes a downward spiral of support, and they're not going to be successful. We know this is the time. This past school year, Rachel Kravchuk and Kristen Hughes, just at Aquidneck, I don't know the Forest Ave information, supported about 70 kids between the 2 of them. And I know at least 19 of those kids graduated out of it and didn't need intervention supports any longer. That 70 kids is almost a quarter of the Aquidneck population who were supported and successful. And what happens to those kids this year, the next year, the year after that, when they aren't getting those supports? RICAS scores are going to drop. We all know that. We all know that if we aren't giving those kids, teaching them how to read, your scores are never going to go up. They just aren't. They can't. There's no way. I think my other concern is every kid in the class, in the building is going to be impacted, not just those kids who need reading intervention services, but every child in the building is going to be impacted by teachers now having to do screenings on all those kids. We're reading interventionists, really, we're doing a lot of those screenings. Now teachers are going to have to do them. Teachers are going to have to do the tier 2, tier 3 instruction on top of what they were already doing for tier 2 and tier 3 instruction and their tier 1 instruction. What happens to the kids who are typically developing and who don't need support? I have a sixth grade daughter going into 6th grade who is an avid reader, right? Learning comes easy to her. She spent 5th grade reading all year long because she'd finish her work in 5 to 10 minutes and would wait 30 minutes for everyone else to finish. So what happens to those kids when teachers are spending all their time on the kids who need more support? And I don't say that teachers shouldn't give those kids support, but every kid in our district is going to be impacted by this loss. And I just think, I hope that you are as concerned about that as I am. And to me, that should be your first thing you're bringing back, and not still sitting on the list of not brought back things. So thanks for your time.
Thank you, Mary. Okay, next we have Kate McGraw. I think she just stepped in.
Been on hold for too long. Trying to do all the things. My name's Kate McGraw. I live at 2 Sherwood Road. I thought a lot about what I wanted to say to you all today. First, I wanted to start by apologizing for not being at any of the other meetings. I, along with a friend, tried very hard to figure out when your budget meetings were happening. They seemed to be canceled and rescheduled, and we couldn't quite get it together. I am entering my 17th year in public education. I taught kindergarten, 1st grade, 2nd grade, and 3rd grade. I have a master's degree in reading. I am a licensed reading specialist. I'm a literacy consultant, and I am the ELA department head at a K-8 school. And so as I thought about what I wanted to say today, I actually found an excerpt from RIDE's comprehensive literacy guidance, and I brought you all a copy so that you could get familiar with it. And so I'm just going to read a paragraph to you. A few, actually. It says, the importance of addressing the needs of struggling readers cannot be overstated. Research confirms that the longer a student moves through school with reading difficulties, the more entrenched those difficulties become, and the more difficult they are to address. The consequences are disturbing. If a student falls significantly behind in reading in the 1st grade, that student will very likely fail, not just in reading, but in all academic areas in every subsequent grade. If schools do not meet the challenge of struggling readers today, those students face, and I quote, a future of sharply diminishing opportunities. Students who do not read proficiently by 3rd grade are 4 times more likely to leave school without a high school diploma than proficient readers. While some struggling readers manage to get into college, even those who work hard to address their reading deficit by enrolling in remedial reading courses are more than 3 times less likely to earn a bachelor's degree within 8 years than students who take no remedial education courses. Reading difficulties are predictive as well as cumulative. A student who fails to learn to read adequately in the 1st grade has a 90% probability of remaining a poor reader by grade 4, and is 75% and has a 75% probability of being a poor reader in high school. But even more tragic is the quality of life faced by someone who remains a poor reader. As adults, these struggling readers are hampered in their efforts to become informed citizens, and they face vastly fewer job prospects. Alongside economic disadvantage, a poor reader enters adulthood with a reduced capacity to learn independently, to absorb information on a variety of topics, and to enjoy reading. When we cut the reading specialist position at a K-3 school, we are flying in the face of evidence-based educational research. You are going against RIDE's guidelines, and you are doing a disservice to our community and the young children that attend our schools. We are a very small community. You are cutting the resources that support your neighbor's children, the people who will grow to become voters in this community, who will take positions of leadership, we hope one day. And so I encourage you to find the one FTE to put a reading specialist back at Aquidneck. Thank you.
So I would just like to comment, because of the Title I piece, we would have to, that one reading teacher at Aquidneck would have to go to actually be a 0.3, because we can't, and I'm sure you know that, being in the field, we can't supplant. It has to be supplement. So the one teacher wouldn't go directly to Aquidneck or to Forest Avenue. We would have to do a comparability study for that. So I know you're aware of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That tier 3 intervention is a 3-child maximum. There's
Mhm.
no way that a 0.3 is providing a strong and robust tiered system of support. And you are making it near impossible for the teachers in that building to meet the need.
Yeah.
You're out of compliance.
Thank you, Kate. Next is Sandra Farrow. Am I saying that right? I apologize though. Can't read the writing, sorry.
Sandra Farrell, 30 Forest Avenue. I was at the town council meeting, so I'm sure you remember me. I just want to say the chaos you caused by sending out that $8,000 letter was just uncalled for. It's not a mistake when someone's calling in to check on it and they're told it's not a mistake, that's the right dollar amount. People have been searching where to put their children because they want them to go to school. Now, my kids were going on vacation, so they had to hurry up and find some place for my granddaughter to go. I think it's just absolutely unexcusable what you did to the parents with that.
Well, I apologize for that.
Well, now she's going to a different school, not with her friends, and it's just not fair. That's just my opinion. I think that should have been caught. Your office was called more than once on this. I even called RIDE over it, and I called about the kindergarten thing, and you told my son and them that you can't go to kindergarten, it's a state law. Called state, they say it's up to Middletown. Middletown can let her go to kindergarten. Call you, no, you can't.
No, we have not made any exceptions for any students ever since the kindergarten age has changed.
Right,
Because
but this was an error on your part, so we were trying to solve an issue, and it was just a flat out, nope, that's it. No help, no whatever. So I find it very disappointing.
Thank you, Sandra. Laura, would you like to, Laura Sullivan? Yes.
Laura Sullivan, 11 Wyndham Hill. I used to be a teacher in California and came out here basically so that my family can have a better life here. We were escaping fires, also earthquakes, and my son has kind of struggled. When he came to Aquidneck, He was supported by not only everybody from the principal and just a lot of people at Aquidneck. He was receiving services from Ms. Krabchuk, lots of extra support, including the nurse at the school. When he was first born, he had a couple seizures due to a febrile seizure because he had ear infections, and he suffered from the ear infections, had tubes, and so therefore had a little imbalance in like walking and also hearing. So then that kind of played a part in him learning phonemic awareness and that kind of thing going into kindergarten. Again, I'm a former teacher, and I don't know if anybody else has tried to teach their own children, right? We all did in the pandemic. It's nearly impossible, right? So we need support from schools. And my in-laws were very, they challenged us a little bit on sending him to school last year. And I said, no, he has to go. There's so much support at school. I'm a teacher. I'm a public school teacher. I know how much support he's going to get. He'll have the teacher and all of the specialists and everything. We need to send him so that he can have support. We also got outside support, OT, CBT, everything we could possibly think of. Now hearing that Rachel is potentially not going to be there next year. I first thought about her when I heard about it on Friday or on Saturday at a birthday party. And then I thought about my son, because I know how important she is to every student, not just my son. But I think you need to see the face of who the numbers. I don't understand the numbers. I know you guys need to, but that doesn't help me when I look at him. And I know that that's very hard for you guys to do, to see the students that it is affecting. And I know that it's a really hard decision, but I think just take that all into consideration when you try to find the money to bring Rachel back, because I know you can. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Okay. Well, thank you very much, everyone. Your feedback and your input is critical. Please note that we take every single thing that everybody says and emails and talks about very seriously. So this is not something that we take lightly, and we appreciate everybody coming here tonight. And we wanted to show you this, and that's why I wanted you to hear this information firsthand and make sure this was set up. And this meeting was scheduled not, it had to be changed a little bit because of different scheduling, but I'm very happy that you were all able to be here in attendance and be able to share your thoughts and feelings and concerns. Thank you. At this time, I think we can take a brief recess if people are welcome to stay, or we will, and then we'll come back and continue the rest of the meeting on Spotlight on Teaching and Learning. So thank you, everyone. Folks, we're going to go back and okay, we're back after our brief break. Next agenda item is a Spotlight on Teaching and Learning, a back to school update.
So I'd just like to provide for you our opening day with our staff. Will be Tuesday, September 5th. We will be meeting, our doors open at Ocean Point Church Auditorium at 8 a.m. Our day is 8 a.m. to 2:50. We will have a welcome, and then we have a keynote speaker. Then our teachers will go back to their buildings and have ALICE training. And then followed by that, the principals have their building meetings. So that's our spotlight today.
Okay, thank you. Next is information.
Information, you see in your packet, or digitally, back to school night events. Our building committee was asking for this as well. So starting today, we have freshman orientation. That's why our high school principal isn't here. New freshman orientation at the high school. Tomorrow, we have popsicles with the principal at Forest Avenue. On the 30th, we have new student orientation at Aquidneck and Gaudet School. Followed on the 31st, new staff orientation here at Oliphant and new student orientation at Forest Avenue. And the list goes on. Our principals and staff have been extremely busy putting all this together. So you'll see in your packet the back to school night, the agenda for our new teacher orientation and their principals invitation for popsicles and open house.
I like the popsicles thing.
Like that too.
Yeah, popsicles with the principal. Great. I didn't do that when I was growing up. Okay, next is the consent agenda. Can I have a motion on the consent agenda?
Make a motion, the school committee approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, old business.
Old business in your packet, you have how a career pathway approval process goes through RIDE. So I know our building committee has also been asking this, but this is really a school committee piece and our high school piece. So to have a RIDE approved career pathway, you see the lengthy documentation that you have here that we have to go through many hoops. We have to prove the need. We have to demonstrate that it falls into the career fair field industry standards. Are there other programs around our community in the other districts, close districts that have a like pathway? So I think this is informational. I have been trying to have RIDE come down, but they're just extremely busy right now, as everyone is with the start of school. But maybe they can come down at some point. But I wanted to provide everybody with this information so you knew what hoops we all needed to jump through for a career pathway. This is last year's application.
And I want to comment that this timeline shows it's a 6-month plus process. 6 months minimum process to go for this. I just want to comment on that.
Mhm.
That is shown on page 4. So, go
And,
ahead.
and as we're the building committee and going through the building, the high school principal is all involved in this, and this is where it will come from,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
As they're investigating the different pathways.
Exactly.
But a big thing that I want to mention that you've mentioned it briefly is that going through this process, and a lot of people don't understand that when another school, another district has a similar program, RIDE will not approve a district that's in close proximity because they're saying the programs may be too close together, and you can send a student to a different school district for that particular career pathway. The tuition is paid, obviously, but that is why, that is a very strict thing with RIDE. And so there is a lot of programs that we have talked about in Middletown of what that 4th career pathway could be at Middletown High School. And that's why it's taking a while, because we're really having to investigate to make sure nobody else has these similar programs in our close proximity, because they will not approve that. That will be taken off the table right away. So I just wanted to mention that. We can't duplicate anything that's close by us. So thank you. This is good information. It's a very lengthy document.
Well, I
good.
think we passed it on to the building committee, didn't we, Kiki?
It's 52 pages.
Thank you.
Just under old business, don't we have some stuff open in transportation?
Yes, we do, and we didn't have an update.
No.
Yet, but we'll
Okay.
get that to you.
I'd like to add a few things to that as well. On the busing, a question about the capacity of each bus per run. And what is the actual number of students on average per run, percent of capacity used? And second, cost per student per run. And
What?
cost per student per run. And third, are there some areas that are greatly underutilized? I'd like those questions to be included in that.
So capacity, cost of student per run, and how many students on each bus?
Yes.
So one thing I do want to say is a lot of people will say they saw a fairly empty bus. You should to ask the question of where was the bus coming from, what school it was coming from or to. If it's the high school, the buses are empty, more empty than the other schools, but our buses, our bus count, correct me if I'm wrong on this, our bus count is based on the Gaudet run. So however many buses we need for Gaudet, we have those for the high school. Now, a lot of high school students drive, a lot of high school students get drop off. In the mornings, you will see more, you'll sometimes see the buses more empty than you do in the afternoons on the middle school and elementary. However, on the high school, you'll see less students on the afternoon buses if they're involved in extracurricular activities. So it's very difficult to pinpoint that when you're saying about how many students are on the buses. It depends, and I can vouch for my children. My children didn't always take the bus in the morning. And they did in the afternoon, but it would depend on what season it was. So they still were considered a bus student, but they weren't always on that bus. So a lot of people say, oh, there's an empty bus. Why are we running that bus? Well, you still have to run the bus because even if there is only one student down on the east side of Middletown that needs to be picked up on Indian Avenue, that bus still needs to go pick up that student.
Well, I just think we need to look at the whole thing, and maybe we need to look at things a little bit differently. Maybe we give, a family wants to handle their own transportation and we give them a rebate. We don't have to have as many buses, or we can use vans instead of buses. I think we need to look at the whole thing because it's a taxpayer issue. That's one of our most expensive expenses. And so we just can't keep doing things the way we've always done them. We need to look at it.
Right. I agree. We definitely is something to look at. The other thing I want to mention though is a special ed student. So if a student has to be bused to Meeting Street School or Bradley and Providence or someplace else, we're responsible. Even if the students that may be going over the bridge towards Wakefield or other parts of the state, we're responsible to bus that student 100%. Even if it's one student on the bus, we're responsible to pay for that transportation. And in a situation like that with special education students, we have we have bus monitors on all the buses anyway, but we could potentially have 1 or 2 bus monitors on a special ed bus, depending on how many students are being transported and what the situation is. So that is a big cost increase too. But
You say bus, but can we use vans instead of buses at some point? I mean, that's what I'm getting at. We need to look at it.
So what I'll
I don't know
do
if it's a
is,
safety issue with
I'll sit down, and we have been having conversations with our bus company, but I'll sit down with these questions and perhaps the bus company can come at our next meeting to explain how they route, why they do what they do, and I'll include these when I meet with them. But we have been talking about the number of buses, looking at vans rather than minibuses for some of our special ed education students. The thing is, you need the lift, you need the wheelchair, you need the harness and all those things.
I have to say, on the special ed buses, I would be more concerned in a van because the adults don't have the ability to stand up, and I think we could be looking at some
Mhm.
safety issues. So yes, but I think it's a good discussion. I think it's worth looking into and seeing if there's any kind of cost savings that we can have.
And along with that, I don't know if this ties in here, but we were talking about with the new schools potentially to house the buses, maybe
Right.
back on our property in some,
Right.
to look at doing something like that.
Right. I know they're in a lease now,
Yeah.
but with the bond.
Yeah.
It could be
That'd be a
possible.
cost savings to bring the buses back on our own
Sure.
property.
I think the discussion would be wonderful, but I can remember going back, seems like 100 years ago, 10 years ago. I did check into it and I found out the cost between a van and a bus were just about the same. And, and you're right, the intermingling. And of course,
You gotta be able to
when the-
stand up.
yeah. So.
Yeah, but it's worth,
but,
worth
oh,
looking
it's
into.
worth revisiting.
Equipment has changed to who knows what we could come up with.
Oh,
Thank you, Greg, for bringing that up.
Yeah.
That's good.
Oh, we'll work on that.
I will say that the bus company is very proactive about properly sizing the buses to the amount of students that need it. And they do, we were just talking today about switching from minivans to full-size vans, things of that nature, to try to save money. They also always will reach out to the surrounding towns and see if they can combine runs with them and split the cost. So they are proactive in trying to save us money.
You know, if we have a family that their kids drive to school every day, and we know what the cost is, why can't we come up with something like we offer them a rebate and then we don't have to pay for busing? We both,
Because-
the family wins and we win.
How do you rebate somebody though, when it's like overhead costs. The bus is gonna cost the same amount of money no matter what. It's not per pupil, it's because when you have a classroom, you're paying the overhead cost to turn the lights on and to heat the classroom and to cover the expenses of the staff. And the teachers and TAs, custodial staff, everything is included in that overhead cost. If you dissect it from a student perspective, that could be very dangerous and that could potentially cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to start reimbursing people to drive.
Your math doesn't add up to me, because if you have 100 students at your busing and you can take it down to 50 and it's costing you, $100 a student, and you give a rebate of $50, then you're making that.
But you can't have a student that's down at Marshall or Green Lane and a student on the east side on the same bus. That's the
I'm not
difference.
saying that, but you got to look at the big picture.
Well, it's worth looking into. I don't know. I mean, that's something that the bus company could come up with for
Some
people.
communities, not in Rhode Island, have an opt-in.
Yeah.
So, they
Sign a
parents
waiver.
sign up.
Yeah, and they
But we
sign a
did that
waiver.
during COVID, so we knew how many buses and space and so forth. We had an opt-in.
And in Massachusetts, they have the parents have to pay for bus transportation. They don't get it for free in Massachusetts at all. They pay a fee and they have to put their, register their student on the bus and write a check. And so we provide all that service for free, which is cost the
And
community a
we
tremendous amount of money.
transport students that live in Middletown to private schools as well.
That's right.
We're required to do that.
I mean, I look at the budget and we have to look at our cost, and we have to figure out ways how we can do things smarter and
Well-
less costly. And I think transportation being one of our biggest costs is one way we can do it.
I think legislation needs to know how we feel about that too, because when they're requiring us to transport private school students, that's a huge cost. To transport kids off the island to LaSalle and to potentially, Bayview and Prout, and, we're paying for those buses if parents request it. So that's a huge cost factor. And that's something that only legislation can change. So,
Well, as Poe said, we have constant contact with our bus company. They are proactive, but we'll bring this up to them and they can come and do a presentation.
Okay.
Be good.
all right. Next, new business, enrollment and staffing updates.
Okay, I have a PowerPoint or slides just to give you our enrollment update. This is as of Thursday. See it here? Would you? Our schools are filling up. They're at capacity. Our total enrollment is about 2,173 students. I looked across the office today and we're still enrolling students. So concerns for us is we did close a K at Forest Avenue because we can go to 60 or so, and we know we have room over at Forest Avenue for students to go.
No, you closed one at Aquidneck.
We closed one at Aquidneck.
Okay, yeah, you
Yeah,
said
yeah,
Forest.
sorry. Our second grades are a concern to us. So we're going to dig a little bit deeper and see if some of these students are our Pathways program, and they're counted because they go into the second grade for some part of the time. But class size is at 20.
We're over capacity.
And then just in terms of staffing data, where we are for FTEs, full-time equivalents. And this is our staff and our certified staff at each school. So we have approximately 292 staff, FTEs. So I'll keep providing this probably September and October, maybe November, because these numbers do change, not so much the staffing, but the enrollment would change.
I think it's important to go all the way into November because November is another War College change.
Yep.
Thank you.
Our high school, 594. Our Gaudet School, 466. Gaudet Learning Academy, 280.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, next we're on to action items. Can I have a motion on homeschooling?
Make a motion, the school committee approve the homeschooling request 23-24.1. 23-24-7, 23-24-8, 23-24-9, 23-24-10, 23-24-11, 23-24-12, 23-24-13, and 23-24-14.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Make sure you use your microphone. Can I have a motion on the coordinator of child outreach, early childhood job description, second reading?
Make a motion, the school committee approve the coordinator of childhood outreach / early childhood job description, second reading.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Can I have a motion on Council 94 contract?
I make a motion that we table the Council 94 contract.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Can I have a motion on the NEAM contract?
Make a motion, the school committee approve the 2023 through 2026 NEAM contract.
Second.
Isn't that supposed to be 25?
Yes.
Yes.
We did again.
Yeah, we gotta fix that.
Make a motion, the school committee approve the 2023 through 2025 NEAM contract.
Is that amended?
I
No,
mean,
we never voted on the other one, so it's just. we have
as
to-
is?
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fine.
as it.
As is.
Second.
All in favor? Any discussion? All in,
This will go, this will go to our town council tomorrow if you approve this.
correct.
And they need to receive it once and then vote on it formally.
So they have a meeting scheduled for tomorrow, and then
Day after Labor Day.
I believe Tuesday, the 5th would be the second hearing. for
Second
that.
reading.
So, okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, I need amended preschool tuition rates.
I make a motion, the school committee approve the amended FY24 preschool tuition rates.
Second.
Any discussion? I just want to mention again that we apologize for this. It was a mistake. It was a big mistake. We acknowledge that, but it was, as I said earlier, the finance office has been really focusing on a lot of things, and somebody picked up the wrong piece of paper and used the wrong calculations. So we apologize for that profusely.
This amendment, the 3% increase over last year's?
It's a 3%.
It's a 3% over last year's. So the rate that went out was a mistake, and we acknowledge that. So we apologize profusely.
Why parents weren't notified right away when you realized it? Because people started calling. I saw it on Facebook on Monday. Last Monday, but nobody notified any of the parents that it was a mistake and to hold up.
I know I got a lot of phone calls and I responded to everybody who called me.
Well,
We
we were
didn't-
calling superintendent's office.
We needed to approve this.
That was right.
Yeah,
So
I'll say it.
I would
So-
think people should have, once they realized that the issue, something should have went out to the parents saying there's been a mistake
Okay.
here, we need to recalculate, don't go by that.
Well, again, we apologize, the way it happened and how it happened. yes, we acknowledge that it was an error and all we can do is move forward now. I'm not suggesting that it was an ideal scenario. But we also had to vote on it today and things can't go public until it's approved by the school committee. And unfortunately, our meeting couldn't be changed any sooner than today. So again, I apologize about that. So we did correct it and hopefully people will be able to get their spots or retain their spots. Okay, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Can I have a motion on resignations?
Make a motion, the school committee approve the following resignations. Ian Kelly, night custodian, 9/1/23. Lisa McCurdy, 4-hour teaching assistant, Forest Avenue, 8/16/23. Rosemary Krager, superintendent, 6/30/24. Karen Hillen, speech pathologist, 8/31/23.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Next is superintendent reports.
So we have been busy with involuntary transfers and you don't have those on your list because we're going to share those with you at the September meeting, but involuntary transfers, voluntary transfers, we didn't have too many of those and assignments. The office has been busy, but for the purposes of personnel actions tonight, Alana Giglino, preschool pre-K special education at Aquidneck. Jordan Cook, math teacher at Middletown High School. Lucas Lundgren, art teacher at Middletown High School. Keeney Conray, science teacher at Middletown High School. And then you approved these resignations that I don't need to go through again. I just want to report that there's been a lot of information that districts are looking for teachers. We have been very fortunate. The only position we have yet to fill is a 0.5 art teacher. And I know that the individuals have been interviewed today and we should be fully staffed. We know we have a teacher assistants to fill, but they have been interviewed too. I usually do a final interview with all staff that the interviewing committee recommends, but I feel Middletown is fortunate. We are not, all of our positions are full, so knock on wood.
That resignation was not on the original list.
David Robinson, a 4-hour teacher assistant, resignation, Godet Learning Academy.
Okay.
And then in terms of finance, I just provided, we're not going to go through all the other areas, our curriculum, a student or Paul might want to just give a quick update on facilities. But I provided you with all the ordinance that the town council, when the town council voted on our budget and the appropriations, I provided those ordinances to you. At the September meeting, we will have to reconcile our budget and come in compliance with everything. And hopefully we'll have better information that we might be able to bring back 1 or 2 more people. So, you want to give an update on the facilities?
Yeah, I don't have anything new, just it's our crunch time, getting the schools all cleaned up for next week. I do have an update that hopefully we're on schedule to release the bus routes tomorrow morning. So they should be posted on the website tomorrow. Hopefully. We're working on it.
And then in terms of Aquidneck Avenue, I know that has been a concern. Some parents have emailed us about that, and you've heard some parents talking to our town administrator. There should be some kind of a much better bumps and whatever going down Aquidneck Avenue for our buses. So we don't think we need to alter our drop off, but I'll keep you posted on that. If we do, we'll have a plan B. Okay. Thanks, Paul.
Is it possible to make sure that that's updated too on the site or
We
to
will.
those parents?
Change it. Right now it's gonna stay the same as it has been.
Okay. There's a lot of questions, so maybe we could just try and get that information out.
And the reason we don't haven't moved is because we have the buses on one side and the parents on the other
No,
side
I know.
because of past issues where children almost been hit.
Yep.
So I want to keep it separate because I don't want to change it for
Yeah.
3 weeks and have the
Right.
town pave the road. And now you get confusion from people not knowing which entrance to use. We're going to keep it the same unless it doesn't get paved.
Right. And I just say that because of the questions, maybe we can
Well, no, just to
advertise
let that out so
Yeah,
people know
yeah.
why we're not changing it.
Right.
According to the town, it's gonna be paid before school starts, so
Right.
I have to go by what they say.
Mm.
I don't wanna change pickup and drop off locations
No,
a week
right.
before school starts.
So maybe we can try and get that.
And then try to change it back,
somewhere.
and then the rest of the year I get people going to the wrong location. It's just.
Yep.
It needs to be changed, it'll be changed.
Okay.
Okay. Next
Tech-
concludes my
technology.
reports.
Technology, okay.
Okay, can I have a motion on the superintendent reports?
Motion the school committee receive the superintendent's reports.
Second,
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any reports of officers and committees? You want to mention something about the building committee? Everything going smoothly? I think we should mention about this
Um,
little postcard.
Yeah, I think that in the last building committee meeting, we chose an overall plan, which was the Z structure. And there are postcards going out that just give you a brief information on that. Moving forward, and they're going to continue, they're going to start with the PR and the communications plan coming forward and try to be at different events and to kick it off. No, I don't know. Did I miss anything?
So those postcards will be at every school for the
Oh,
open house nights and back to school popsicles with principals. They will be at each school. So if you want any, we can send some home to you as you see your friends and neighbors.
Yep, I've seen it on social media and some of the.
And we'll
news
put it
feeds.
on our social media as well.
Okay.
And then just the October 8th is the Middletown Prevention Coalition Family Day. So there'll be more information coming out on that. Just working on getting all that, but it's down at the beach. They're gonna have all kinds of fun stuff going on. So
Okay.
Should see some stuff
I
on
thought
that,
that was October 7th. Were you sure on the 8th?
whatever that Saturday is. The wrong
Anybody
date.
have a calendar?
It's your
I don't.
calendar.
I do right here.
It's the Saturday,
October
the 7th.
7th.
Okay, you're right, the 7th, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
So it must be the backup day.
That's
Yeah,
Columbus Day weekend.
It is. Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll see lots of stuff coming out on that, advertisements, flyers, whatnot, through the school. They'll get it out through the schools and stuff.
And you're all welcome to our convocation on Tuesday. At 8 o'clock, you have that information.
I have to say, I usually am there and I at least give greetings, and I have to just tell everybody I cannot be there. Unfortunately, that is my first day of school. And this year I do not have the ability to escape and come for 30 minutes like I normally do. I haven't had my first day of school in a long time after Labor Day. So I've always started early in September. I mean, late in August. So I've been able to escape the first week of September, but that I cannot do. So maybe Tammy can take the helm. But I do want to say publicly, I want to wish all the teachers and the staff a great year. And I'm very excited that we're going into a good year. Let's see what happens. We're excited about this bond, hoping to see new schools in the future of Middletown to improve our educational system. But I also want to thank all the teachers, teacher assistants, the custodians, all the staff, administration for the incredible work that we do in this community. You ladies and gentlemen are the rock, and you make it work. And Middletown is great because of the teachers and staff. So thank you to everybody in advance.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Anybody else? All right.
Uh,
Go ahead.
I just wanted to, on the cell phone, Rosemary said that would be an agenda for the next, I just wanted to include that if you take a look at
Okay.
that.
Thank you.
I just want to add to those people who spoke earlier, I'm in 100% agreement with obviously bringing back those specialists and the interventionists, and also wasn't mentioned, but the ELL support as well. If and when and the yet can happen, we're all hoping for the yet.
Me too.
Thank you.
Can I make a comment going back about the building committee? I wouldn't say it's absolutely necessary we get a new school, but nothing's absolute. I've been doing a lot of work on the municipal bonds. And our municipal bond rate will be probably between 7.1 and 7.7. We'll start off with borrowing of probably about $40 million. Those are the type of questions I get asked, how much is this bond gonna cost us?
Well, it's 190 million total. We're
Right,
getting reimbursed 55% out of
Yes.
190 million.
and the question
So,
I've asked.
Quick
can-
math, what is that?
No, it's probably
80,
gonna cost
90
us.
million. 90
Come
million.
back and I'll print it out for you,
Mhm.
but I really won't know until I talk to, I really won't know. And the real deciders are Sean and Mark Tangwari. Not impossible is what I say, and it would be nice for us to have a new school, you could see. So it's gonna be a challenge.
It's not a nice to have though. It's a necessity. The Rhode Island Department of Education has deemed our buildings unsafe. We failed the rating scale that they used when they came down for health and safety and environmental learning, the learning environment. So it's not anymore a want to, it's a have to. And it's really important that the community understands. And this is not, now that I am going to say this, it is not just about our educational system. These are community buildings. Middletown High School, Middletown Gaudet Middle School is currently a very big community building. The fields are used by the community, Pop Warner, so, all different community events go on there. We have summer camps there that are not just for the school students of that school. So the fields are used by the community for fundraisers and all different things. And the other thing that's important to understand is that Gaudet is a shelter. It's a shelter for Middletown and it's a shelter for Newport County, all of Aquidneck Island and the military. So when this new building would be constructed, if all goes through with this bond, this shelter is federally required. So we're actually looking at potentially getting federal funds to support some of these dollars to make sure that the shelter is built correctly. But the Red Cross is part of this process and that they bring all the supplies in and things like that. So when we have an emergency, this new gym would be our new shelter for this community. And maybe other people that don't realize how many people have used that shelter, but my family has used the shelter when we had a hurricane several years ago, lost power on the east side and water, because when we lose power on the east side, we have all wells, so we have no water. We had no water, no electricity for 5 days. And then another time was a blizzard, we had no electricity for 3 days. So these are the kinds of things that you pack up the elderly, you pack up your children and you bring them to the shelter. The shelter is a critical part of this community and it's very necessary. So it's not just about the school system. This is about a community building that needs to be constructed. We're going to have an auditorium in this building. That's going to be a community used facility. It will be used potentially for dance schools and for adult education and all kinds of other things that are not just about students from 6 through 12. So I just want to mention that when we talk about this plan and we talk about the bond, it is a lot of money. There's no question about it. But the town is been very diligent going after as many dollars as possible getting reimbursed. So right now we're at 55% with the potential of bonus points to increase that 55% reimbursement. So we're not spending 190, we're not going to borrow 190 million. Well, that's not true. We have to borrow it and then we get reimbursed. I'm sorry, I'm going to correct that. We do have to borrow it and go to bond for 190 million. The other part of this bond is not just about the middle school, high school combo building going up. There's also 20 million being designated for improvements for our 4th and 5th graders. So it's really, this bond is going out for all of our students, grades 4 to 12. So I think we need to emphasize that that's an important thing that people need to know. And this really is going to be a community building, just like we have the fields. The fields are going to be a big improvement. The community uses them. They will use them for lacrosse. You've got youth lacrosse. You're going to have high school and middle school lacrosse. I don't know about middle school. I'm sorry, high school lacrosse. So these fields are going to be community fields as well. So I just had to throw that out there because this bond is a big talk of conversation, but it's also a real necessity. It's not just a want.
The other thing I'd like to add is if we don't pass the bond, what is it going to cost us to keep the old buildings up? And RIDE has said that it will probably exceed that cost. So,
And there'll be no reimbursement.
Yeah.
So it'll cost not just then it will cost us the full 190 million versus 90 million. So it's $100 million that we're talking about that RIDE will not, they will not reimburse anything for fixer uppers. They will only reimburse for new structures. That's the other thing that's really important for the community to understand.
And those
They will
numbers,
require it though.
And they're requiring it, right?
and those numbers will be coming forward with the cost of it, the cost without doing it. What is that what is that impact gonna be?
Yeah, I've heard-
There's, all those numbers will be coming.
yeah, because those are the lead-in questions.
Right.
But Teresa, you left off one of the greatest disasters we had in the island. That was the loss of gas.
Right.
Propane. That was where I
Right.
ran into a lot of people who had a lot of problems.
And the shelter is used for everybody. It's for
Navy base.
Navy, Newport, Portsmouth, Middletown. The shelter's used for all three communities and the
And the
military.
shelter was a big factor in determining which schematic design was selected. That was a big
Correct.
factor, the location of the gym being on the accessible floor.
We have
Right.
several nursing homes that we're.
Several nursing homes.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, that have been evacuated. But yes, that's another thing I think we need to publicize is that when this design was looked at, the gym being ground level and having emergency access. So being able to transport somebody from a nursing home in a rescue wagon or some kind of ambulance type facility. Or if there is an emergency on the sports field, the rescue will be able to have easy access to this facility. So there's a lot to it besides just classrooms and sports. It's really about the community needing it. So
I just think we need to be careful about numbers that we throw around until we actually see the numbers presented by
Right.
our town administrator and finance director and our town council. So,
Oh,
yeah.
no, I
Yeah.
agree with it, but
but we can't guesstimate of what the final amount's gonna be for reimbursement, so it's best just that we wait on that until we have those final numbers, because stage 2 application has to be in by December 31st, I believe.
municipal bonds is what we're gonna use because it's reasonable, but depends upon the municipal bonds are tax-free, by the way, so if you want to start. And also
Okay.
depends upon the town rating. By the way.
We have a good rating, so we're in good shape. Okay,
Okay,
Mrs. Holden, can you entertain a motion?
I make a motion to adjourn from the school committee meeting at 5:44.
second,
Any discussion? All in favor?
aye.
Aye, have a great year, everybody.